Hey there, Stampers. Happy Friday. Welcome to this week's Facebook Live. My name is Sherry Roth. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator from Alberta, Canada. And every Friday I go live at 11 a.m. Mountain Time with a crafty project. Okay, I'm just updating my iPad. Looks like it's good. Okay. All right, so before we get into what we're doing today and what's happening, I wanted to do the draws for, or let you know the winners for the last couple Facebook Lives that I did. So I believe last week on Wednesday, I featured the Grassy Grove bundle. I think that's what it's called. And so I created these two cards. So if you missed out on any of the Facebook Lives, you can find them on my YouTube channel, which is linked in the description. So you can always go back and watch those. So Kim Rabick won the Christmas card, and the thank you card, Susan McLevin won those. So I will pop those in the mail for you ladies. Congratulations. Good morning and happy Friday to you too, Shirley. And then last Friday, that was the last celebration focused Friday Live, and I created these two cards where I combined the Special Moments celebration set, the Sunshine and Rainbows DSP, and the sports event dies from the mini catalog, and created these two cards. And the winners are Carol Newman and Shara Petch. So I believe I have everybody's address, so I will pop those in the mail for you guys tonight, or this weekend. So congratulations. And if you're new to my channel, the way that you can get your name entered to win what I create during my Facebook Lives, as long as it's a mailable project, is just by participating in the conversation. So if you're watching live, you can ask me questions, you can just comment, just know that it helps me know that I'm talking to somebody rather than sitting here and talking to myself. And then if you're watching the replay, of course, comment. You have a week, because I usually draw on the Friday mornings. And so you have a week to watch the live and comment, ask questions, whatever. I don't always get back to you to answering your questions right away, but usually when I go in and I read all the comments when I go to figure out who gets entered to win the cards. All right. The other thing that you can do is you can share the projects, or share the video as well. Okay, now let's talk about what is happening right now. There's a lot going on. We've got a new month. This is my first Facebook Live this month. We have got the Savings Are in Bloom promotion, which runs from March 1st to 31st. However, Stampin' Up! Has stipulated that it's while supplies last. So some of these things may end up selling out. So that's something to keep in mind. We've got the mini Stampin' Cut and Boss machine is on sale for 20% off, which is fabulous. And then there are several bundles, excuse me, several bundles that are on sale for 20% off as well. So we've got the All Squared Away bundle, and then all of these bundles on the back side of this flyer. There are some great ones here. Actually, I've done a class for almost all of these bundles. Almost all of them. I haven't used the Wildcats, the What's Cooking, the Welcoming Window bundle, but I believe pretty much everything else I've done a class on. Oh, and I don't think I've done the Hydrangea Haven bundle. And I do have a class coming up using the Celebrate Sunflowers bundle. Now, that class is really embossing techniques focused. So we're gonna create 6 cards, 2 each of 3 different designs, using 3 different embossing techniques. And I'm going to be using the Celebrate Sunflowers bundle on my projects. So if you have it, that might be something that you're interested in doing. Registration deadline is on Sunday. However, you do not need this bundle in order to take this class, to participate in this class. There are several other bundles that will work. So I'm going to create alternates with a few different bundles so that you can see kind of how you can take those ideas and use them with what you have. All right. So for example, I used the what is it called? On one of the alternates, I used, just grabbing it here, this artfully layered. So I use this leaf. So I do suggest that you have something that has like a line art stamp in it, at least for one of the projects. But yeah, it'll be a great class, and there's so many different sets that you could use in its place. All right, deadline for that is Sunday this week, so March 6th. And then we've got the Waves of the Ocean. This is a new collection that Stampin' Up! Just released. It was released in February to demonstrators and March to customers. And this is such a fun collection. We haven't really had anything quite like this in the past. And I always love it when they come out with something so completely different than what we're used to. So the collection includes this beautiful DSP, which there is a video that I shared earlier today on my Facebook page where they shared how they made this. They used paint pouring techniques to create the patterns on these papers. They are so fun. Like, look at, the papers are absolutely stunning. Absolutely stunning. So I'll flip through. So that's one side, and then we've got the back side here. Love this one. So beautiful colors, beautiful patterns, and it's unlike anything that we've had before, which is great. And then there's the foils, and you get 2 each of 3 different colors. You get a, I think it's navy. Let me just make sure I get the colors right. Night of Navy, Coastal Cabana, and Silver. So pretty. Foil is always nice. And then there is the Waves of Inspiration bundle, which, look at this stamp. And then there's some wave dies, there's some label dies, some clouds, some seagulls, and then this one coordinates with this stamp set, and some really, really great greetings that you can use for lots of different occasions. And then, of course, there is an embellishment. These are called the Rhinestone Waves Basic Jewels. Okay, now I want to point out that this bundle is an early release from the upcoming annual catalog. Okay, so this will carry over into the annual catalog. It'll be available for a long time. However, the DSP, the foil, and the jewels are all available only while supplies last, or until there is a deadline, May 2nd. Okay, so if they sell out, they sell out, or they'll be available until May 2nd. So I want to point that out. So if you've got your eye on any of these, I suggest that you get them early so that you're not disappointed. Okay. All right, and of course I've got a class to go featuring this collection, and I'll share a little peek at the projects just a little bit later in this Facebook Live, and I'll share the details of that as well. Okay, let's toss this on the floor, and this on the floor. Okay, and let's get down to business here. I know this is what you're here for. Okay. All right, so we are going to use that beautiful wave stamp. I know, isn't that paper awesome, Shauna? Completely agree with all those hearts. Okay, so we are going to use that wave stamp. We're going to start with that, and I am going to I put it on my Stamparatus. So it will fit on our biggest block. However, the biggest block, I've got tiny hands, and I can't hold that biggest block very well. So I much prefer to use my Stamparatus. So this is a stamp positioning tool. It helps you line up your greetings so that they're straight. It's great if you're mass producing. There's lots of benefits to the Stamparatus. And if you check my YouTube channel, you'll find a few videos on different techniques that you can do with the Stamparatus as well. So these are really strong magnets. I've got a piece of grid paper down here, and I've adhered my stamp. And what I want to do is I want to make sure that I don't have any white showing around the edges when I stamp this. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. I can probably put it down a little lower. Let's go up a little higher. I want that wave to go right to the edge. So that magnet serves the purpose of holding my cardstock in place. Okay. All right. So now what I'm going to do is, now I could ink this up in a solid color, but when you look at water and waves, there's kind of variations of color. So I thought it would be fun to combine a few different colors to ink this up. So I am going to use Bermuda Bay, Pacific Point, and Night of Navy. Those are the three colors that I'm going to use. I'm going to start with my Bermuda Bay, and I'm going to use finger daubers or sponge daubers to ink this up. I'll just set my ink over here, and I'm just going to tap my finger dauber in there and just pick a few spots to add this Bermuda Bay color. So let's do a little bit down here. And maybe let's do a little bit right here. Okay, and these colors are nice and dark, so it's easy to tell where you've added the ink. Okay, and then I'll go to my next darkest color, so Pacific Point. And I'm going to take a blue finger dauber, and we'll add some more color. So I want to make sure that I add ink everywhere. I don't want there to be any spots where there's no ink. Okay, and then we're going to fill it in with Night of Navy. I'll grab a third finger dauber and just fill in these areas. Now this ink is, especially the Bermuda Bay that I added first, it's likely dried on that stamp. So what I'm going to do, just like we do when we use Stampin' Write markers, I'm going to give it a huff. Just huff on it, and then I'll close this, and then I'll just apply a pressure all over just to make sure I get a nice impression. Now the Stamparatus, what's great about this, if I didn't get a good impression, I could always ink it up and stamp it again. Now that's a little bit more difficult when you use finger daubers, because you don't know exactly where you put what color. So I really want to make sure that I've got a good impression. And look at that. Look how beautiful that is. So pretty. Okay, so we're going to set this aside. Let's put this down here. Okay. And let's move this over. I've got so much stuff on my table here. Okay, and then I've got a piece of foil that I want to use as a mat. Okay, so I want just that little bit of this Coastal Cabana foil showing. But when you put this over top, like that's such a waste to cover up all that beautiful foil. So what I like to do is, when I do that, is I like to what I call gut the inside. And I call it gut it because we're going to take out the inside. So I'm going to line this up with 1/2 inch because I only need about an 1/8 or maybe a 1/16 of an inch is going to show. Just a little bit of that shimmer. And then I'm going to bring my paper trimmer, or my paper, the cutting blade. So this piece measures, I think it's 3 7/8 by 5 1/8. So I'm going to go, it's about 4 inches. I'm going to go 1/2 inch. And there are these lines on here. That is where the blade is. And there's a ruler on this side, which is really hard for you guys to see. I wonder if I popped a piece of cardstock in there, if you guys could see. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but there is a ruler on this side. So I'm using the line that's on here, and I'm going to line it up with about the 3 1/2 inch mark. It doesn't, let's move this out of the way. We don't want to cut that. It doesn't have to be perfect because you're not going to see the inside. And I'm going to go to about the 1/2 inch mark there. And then I'm going to line it up with 1/2 inch. Start here and go to about 1/2 inch from the edge. And again, it doesn't, you can just eyeball it. It doesn't have to be even on the inside because you're not going to see the inside. I do this a lot when I scrapbook as well. If I'm doing 2 big layers and a mat, then I will cut out, especially if it's DSP, so that you don't waste all that pretty DSP. Okay, so I didn't go quite to the edge on a couple of these corners, so I'll just snip up here. So you can see it's not a perfectly even border around the edges, but that's not going to matter. And we saved all of this inside piece. So I'll set that aside. You can use that on a different project. And this will get added just using some seal adhesive right on here so we have a nice even border. So that's how you can get like a mat that looks like that without wasting a whole ton of your precious foil paper, because it's so pretty. All right, so I've got a white, thick white card base. I'm going to use, I think I'm going to use dimension, maybe not. Do I want to use dimensionals or do I want it flat? You know what, we're going to put it flat. Okay, so this will go in the center. We've got a little bit of a wider white border. I think this card design would make a great sympathy card. Okay, and then we're going to bring in our mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss, which, like I said, is on sale right now. 20% off. I love this little mini machine because so many of our dies fit on it, and it doesn't take up a ton of space on your desk. I have a separate table for my big machine, and I always have to get up to go use it. I know, how lazy is that? But it's just nice to have something right at your desk. All right, so I took the 2 clouds and I'm going to die cut those. And I want a 3rd cloud, so I'm going to cut the smallest one a second time. And I do suggest that you'll find that these will start to warp. It doesn't matter which machine you use, they do start to warp. So if you rotate them, just flip them over every once in a while. That will help prolong them warping too much. Okay, we'll set that guy aside. We'll need it again for the next project. Die back on my thing so that I don't lose it. All right, and before we add these, well, I'm just going to set these in place kind of where I think I'm going to put them. I think they're going to go about there, maybe like that. I want to add a few seagulls. So there's this tiny little seagull die. I'm going to take our Memento ink. Yes, the big wave does fit in the mini machine. So we're going to stamp 3 of these. Okay. And then we're going to add our clouds. So this cloud, 2 of the clouds are going to go on flat. So I'll just use a little bit of seal adhesive. Pop this guy up here. And then this guy's going to go on flat. And then this guy's going to get popped up using dimensionals. So how many of you already have this bundle? And how many of you have played with it? Okay, I'm going to pop that on there. Okay, so there's the outside of our card. And then for the inside, I wanted to use the greeting. What did I do with my stamp set now? I just had it here. Oh, here it is. I wanted to use the greeting, your strength is an inspiration, because I feel that this is just such a, I don't know, it's such a beautiful set and such a calming set that I think this would make a great sympathy card. I just have to take one of my stamps off the block here. And we'll open this up and we'll use our Memento ink. Actually, you know what? Let's add some color on the inside. Let's stamp it in Pacific Point instead. All right, so it looks like a few of you have it, but haven't played with it yet. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to add a couple seagulls inside as well. The foil was 3 7/8 by 5 1/8, and then the white layer was 3 3/4 by 5. All right, and there we go. There is our first card. So a quick and easy card. I wanted to show you how you could add multiple colors on there. Here is the same card that I stamped all in one color. So you can see that it's a little bit bolder when you do use one color because you're using an ink pad right on there rather than the finger daubers, but I think that looks really cool with the different colors. Okay, so that is card number 1. And then the second card we're going to do a little bit of a fun fold card. So let me just clean this so that I can use that block again. Okay, I love fun fold cards, but I like them to be simple. I don't want to spend a lot of time on a fun fold unless it's for somebody special. Then I'll spend a little bit more time on it. So this is called an Easel card. Some of you may have created them before. Some of it might have been, maybe it's been a while and you need a refresher. But this is a nice, simple, fun fold that we can do. All right, so my card base, you can always find these measurements for any of my Facebook Lives. You can find them on my blog at stampedtreasures.com. And, but I do try to remember to give them to you as I go along as well. So this is a piece of Night of Navy cardstock. It measures 4 1/4 by 11 inches. And I'm going to score it at 2 3/4. So I'm going to use my lighter one, 2 3/4 and 5 1/2. Okay, set that aside. And then we are going to fold the center fold in. So we've got a mountain fold. And then we're going to fold the other score line in as well. So this is what it's going to look like. Okay. All right. And then we're going to set, actually, no, we can do the next step. So then the next piece I have is a piece of 4 by 5 1/4 inch Pacific Point. And I've gone ahead and I've embossed it using the timber embossing folder just to give it a little bit of texture. On my initial sample, I did not emboss it. So I'll show you both so that you guys can get an idea of what it looks like and you can decide what you like. All right. And what I'm going to do is I only want to have this adhered to this bottom flap here. Okay. So I know that this is going to have about 1/8 of an inch on the left, the right, and the bottom. I'm just going to go ahead and add my adhesive on this flap, just making sure not to get too close to the edge. And then I'll fold this flat and position this on here. Okay, so I'll make sure that that glue sets nicely. So then it's going to stand up like this. All right, so that is our card base. Now we're going to do, we got lots of other layers. This is our inside piece. This is just a piece of white that measures 4 by 5 1/4. And then I've got a scrap of white that we're going to do some stamping and some die cutting on. And I might have to grab my notebook. I didn't jot down the sizes here. These two pieces are going to mat. I believe this is, let me measure, 2 7/8 by 4 1/8, and this one is 2 3/4 by 4. Okay, and we're going to work with this one first. So I'm going to bring in a scrap piece of paper, and we are going to do a little bit of blending in the background. We're going to use some yellow ink. I'm going to use Bumblebee, which is one of the colors that will be retiring very shortly. So if you've got these colors, so that's Bumblebee, Misty Moonlight, Just Jade, Magenta Madness, and what am I forgetting? Cinnamon Cider. So if you've got any of those colors, you want to make sure that you have the ink refill so you can continue to use those ink pads over and over and over. So I'm just adding a little bit of color. I'm not worried about the bottom. That's going to get covered over. So, and I do want it to be a little bit darker at the top and then get lighter as we go down. So I'm going to add a little bit more up at the top. Maybe we'll do one more layer. Okay, so we've added a little bit of color to that background. Set that aside. We can move this out of the way. And then on this guy, we are going to stamp this. I think this is a pelican. I don't know, pelican? I think it is. That's what I'm calling it, but maybe it's not. I'm not overly familiar with birds. I know pelicans have the big things in their beaks, but I think that's only when it's full. I think they're normal when it's not full. Am I right? Does anybody know what kind of bird this is? Maybe it's something completely different. I don't know. Okay, so I'm just using Memento ink and inking this up. I'm going to stamp it down on my white scrap. And look at the detail on this. Like, just look at all the various shades on there. So pretty. All right, while we've got our Memento ink out, I've gone ahead and I used one of the label shapes from the die set. So I used this label shape right here and I cut it out. And we're going to stamp the "You're Totally Awesome" just with Memento. Okay, Mom just confirmed it is a pelican. And this is going to go on here. Just like that. And then the other thing that we're going to stamp is we're going to stamp "Happy Birthday" just on a very narrow strip of white. This is probably, yeah, it's about 3/8 of an inch. Oh, it's hard to see on this white background. Oh, that's good. Okay, I think we've done all the stamping that we need to do. Okay, now let's color in. So we're going to color this in using Stampin' Blends. I'm going to use a little bit of soft suede. I'm going to start with my dark and just add the dark kind of where the dark bits are here. And I'm not too concerned with this rope because I've got something that I'm going to do with the rope that's around it. And then I'll fill in the rest with my light suede. So, and this is where I'll go kind of right to the corners. I'll go over that dark bit just to make sure that it's well blended. You can color the rope in a different color, but you'll see what I do with the rope just to add a little bit of texture. So where the dark soft suede is, it's a little bit noticeable. So I'm just kind of going over it a few more times. And then for the pelican, I'm going to color it in gray granite. So I need my dark first. And I'm just going to add a little bit of the dark. I'm going to color his beak in with the dark, and then fill the rest of him in with the light. Okay. All right, and then I want there to be a little bit more variation in color on the wood stumps. So I'm taking my color lifter and I'm just going down the center. And when that dries, it will dry a little bit lighter. Okay, you can already see that it's already starting to get lighter. So that just gives a little bit more of a variation in color. Okay, and then we're going to bring in our Stampin' Cut and Emboss, and I've got the coordinating die, and I'm just going to add this on here. You can see that I've got a little piece of washi tape. You can use washi tape or a post-it note or post-it tape to hold it in place. And then we'll bring this back. And so I've got my layer 1, my layer 2, and then this guy's going to go on here, but we're also going to die cut a couple clouds. So we'll add the 2 clouds on there, and then pop that on there and feed it through. All right, pop that out, stick this on, back on my paper, pop that out. All right, okay, so now I think we have all of our pieces. This guy is going to get trimmed down. We're going to cut, actually, you know what, I'm going to trim it so it's a little bit narrower. It's just a little bit wide. Let's see if I can do that. This is a pretty narrow piece of cardstock. Okay, so we did the one side. Let's see if we can do the other side. There's not a whole lot of cardstock there. Look at that. That worked out well. Okay. All right. Now this guy's going to get trimmed just at an angle like this. And then this, we're going to add a little bit of adhesive here. And I've got a 5/8 by 4-inch strip of this DSP. And let's do it this way. I'm going to feed this under and then through and then I want it to be pretty centered before I stick it down. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? We're not quite finished with this yet. We can't do that step just yet. Because what I want to do is I want to add some not baker's twine, linen thread around here. So I'm going to take this, I'm going to wrap it around twice. And then I'm going to tie a bow right here. You had to know that I was going to use some sort of twine today, right? Because I didn't use any on the first card. I can't do 2 cards without twine. Okay. Just pull this, make sure I get it the way I want it to look. I'll trim the end. Now we're going to feed this underneath here. So we're going to go down and then back up. Okay, and then we're going to center that. Just want to adjust my bow a little. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. It looks like it's pretty much centered. So now I'm just going to push that down where that adhesive was. We can trim this end a little bit, and then we're going to pop some dimensionals on the back of this, all across the back. So I'll probably use 4 of them. Actually, I'll probably use more than 4. I'm going to be quite generous with these dimensionals here. And then that is going to go along the bottom of our inside white piece. And this is what's going to hold our easel card up. So the easel part of our card. And I'm going to put it, you can put it as high up as you want. It just depends on how high you want your easel to stand. And then we'll use a little bit of this. That's like 2 in 1 week, right, Melissa? Melissa is part of my membership group, and I did a Facebook Live earlier this week over in my membership group. She said that she's surprised that she made 2 this week. So that's how it's going to stand up. So that's why I was pretty generous with my dimensionals, because I don't want there to be, I really want this to be kind of really flat so that it sits nicely. Okay. All right. Now on this piece, remember how I said I wanted to add something different where the rope is wrapped around the, what are these things called? The wood that's in there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my linen thread and I'm going to wrap this around. So this is going to serve as the cord. So, and that just gives a little bit of texture to the outside. Just like that. I'll trim this. The pier, is that what it's called? And then I've got just a little piece of Scotch tape, and I'm going to tape this over top. You can also use washi tape. You could probably just use even a strip of adhesive too, and it would adhere to that. So then we've got the cord wrapped around, and it looks like it's rope. Okay, so then this guy's going to get popped up as well. And I'm going to use a combination of regular dimensionals and mini dimensionals. This one probably needs to be cut down in half. I'll just stick it on there. Okay. Now we can bring back this piece and adhere these two. Actually, let's put this piece on first. So this is going to be our water. And yeah, this is a little long, so we're going to need to trim this down. And then we'll add this to our navy. And then this piece is going to go on here. And actually, because this has texture to it, I'm going to use multi-purpose glue. And I'm going to be generous with the glue. I'll fold this flat. This is going to go right in the center. Yeah, I love blues and yellows too. All right, and then we can add our pelican. And this is going to go on right here. And our greeting can go on. I'm going to take just a couple narrow strips from around the edges and add this on here. The backing on this piece doesn't want to come off. Oh, there we go. All right, this is going to go right on here like this. And then our clouds, we're going to pop this guy up using dimensionals. So this is the Waves of the Ocean collection, is this month's class to go. So it's really focused on this entire collection. And it's $45. You get half a package of the DSP, you get half a package of the foil, and you get a full package of the Rhinestone Waves Basic Jewels, and the pre-cut card kits for 6 different cards, as well as the PDF for all 6. So there's a video for each one that walks you through step by step, and it has a full supply list, everything. And the cards are so great. Laura and I think we've got this momentum going. We've been doing this together for a while. She designs 3 and I design 3, and then we offer the class together. It's a really great class. I think you guys will love it. And it really highlights this, like all of the products in there, the foil, the dies, the stamp set. It highlights everything. Okay, I'm looking for my Memento ink here. Here we go. Because we need to add some seagulls. All right. So we'll add a couple of Memento seagulls on here. And then there is, in the dies, there is this cute little seagull die. It cuts out 2 seagulls at a time, which is really cute. So you could do those die cut as well. And then I wanted to add a little bit of bling. So we're going to pull in the jewels. I love the shades of blue and green in these jewels. They're so pretty. Okay, and we're going to use the darker blue. So let's add one here, and then we'll do a medium size one, add it up here, and a small one, add it on here. And there we go. So this is a simple, fun fold card. The fold itself is simple. There were a lot of different pieces on this card, but it's not a very difficult card to make. And you can see, let me hold it up this way so you can kind of see how it looks when it's flat. And from the side. So there is a simple fun fold card using the Waves of the Ocean collection. And then here, remember I said with the first one I didn't add any texture. So other than that, it's the same card. I just kept it really simple like, and just put the Pacific Point here, whereas this one is embossed. Let me hold them both up. So it's not a huge difference. I just felt like it just needed a little bit of texture. Yeah, on the video, you can hardly tell. You can hardly tell the difference. But it just adds just a little bit of texture when you add that embossed layer on there. All right, so there is card number 1, or card number 2, and here is card number 1. And then do you guys want to peek at the projects that we're making in class? Okay, let me just pop this down. Okay, so I'm going to do a quick flip through of the cards that we'll be creating. Remember, there are 6 of them. So we've got card number 1, card number 2, card number 3, 4, 5, and 6. Those wave dies are so fun, especially when they're cut from the foil. And you can layer them on top of, like even on here, if I wanted to step it up a little bit, I could layer one of the die cut waves right on top of here, cut with the DSP, and it looks really good as well. All right, so the deadline for this class to go is March 10th, which I believe is next Thursday or Friday. I can't remember which day. So you can sign up until then. If you are outside of Canada and you want to participate, I do have a tutorial that is available to purchase, and that I will link in the description below. All right. So thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the cards that we created today, and have fun playing with your bundle if you already have it. I'd love to see what you create with it. Yeah, there's so much potential with this bundle. All right. Oh, I have one other card. I just remembered. I wanted to share this one. So I wanted to share that you could do something completely different using elements from the kit, like not necessarily water-based. So this is a fun card. You guys remember the card that I created last week that was like a pocket card? So I used that idea, and I just added my focal point and like a little focal point cluster on there. So, and this has nothing to do with water. It's just the clouds and the seagulls and a cute little greeting. It uses the DSP, the foil, the stamp set, and the dies. So it still uses everything. It's not water-based. So there is potential. Not everything needs to be water-based for this project or for this collection. All right. So there's another idea for you guys. Okay. So thanks so much. Have a fabulous weekend. I hope you have a chance to get crafty, and we'll see you next week.